Welcome back to Tackle the Numbers, the channel celebrating the 4th of July by hoping for a miracle against England on Sunday. My name is Alistair Poole. As always, this video is also available as a podcast. If you'd rather listen than watch, check the link in the video description. Getting on to the matches last week, we saw Utah visit Houston and walk away with a dominant victory. Houston scored first, but they failed to get anything more on the board. Utah, meanwhile, scored 4 unanswered tries for the win. In typical Utah fashion, they left it until the closing seconds to grab the bonus point. And that bonus is pretty important, as I'll cover later. Utah was expected to win this one by 7, 32-25, but instead they won it by 19, 24-5. This match moved the Warriors' ratings quite dramatically. Their attack slipped down significantly to 7.4 points, which means that it's no longer first in the league. However, their defense improved considerably, moving above average to 22.4 points. That puts their combined margin at 3.8 points, a record high for the club. Houston technically also came out better after this match. Their defense improved a bit to 33.3 points, which more than offset their attack dropping to minus 11.2, and that puts them slightly closer to positive with a combined margin of minus 6 points. However, these movements may simply be due to the fact that there isn't a lot of room for them to get worse. We then saw Old Glory get run over by Atlanta on the road. Rugby ATL was expected to win by 7, 25-18, but they actually won by 20, 32-12. They got the lead early and just kept scoring. For DC, this was a step back. Their attack stayed level at minus 3.6 points, while their defense worsened to 30.4 points. That moves them down a bit to a minus 2.5 point combined margin. For Rugby ATL, not too much changed. Their attack is back in the positive at 0.8 points, and their defense got a boost to an excellent 14.9 points. That puts them second in the league overall, with a combined margin of 6.7 points. We saw Austin take down their hosts, San Diego. The Legion had been expected to win this one, close, 26-24. Instead, the disappointment of a missed opportunity must have hit them. We saw Austin run away with it in the second half for a 33-14 upset win. This win was great for the AG's rankings. They improved on defense to 23.2, which is good, but still a long way from their great defense of the early season. On attack, they had a great turnaround. They went from one of the worst attacking teams to one of the better ones. Their adjusted attack is now 4.6 points, their best in club history. That gives them a reasonable 2.8 point combined margin. San Diego, meanwhile, dropped back down to average. Their attack slumped. It's actually also 4.6 points now, and their defensive baseline slid to a subpar 27.5 points. That gives them a pretty average 0.4 point combined margin. Personally, I think they're feeling the disappointment of last week, which pretty much killed their playoff hopes. It's hard to take, especially when you're on a hot streak like San Diego was. We then saw Rooney survive against a surprisingly feisty Toronto. Rooney was expected to win by 5, 25-20, a margin that I was certain was too small. Instead, it proved to be pretty accurate as they won by 7, 31-24. Toronto kept it close for a while, but then 2 quick tries put Rooney ahead, and the Arrows just couldn't catch up. It's unfortunate that the difference in the match ended up being a converted try, given that one of Rooney's tries was clearly a knock-on. Rooney's attack jumped up with this match. It's now 8.6 points, which is currently good enough for best in the league. This was offset by a slip in defense, though, which is now a still good 22.4 points. That means their combined margin only rose a little to 4 points. Toronto had a similar movement. They jumped significantly on attack, although they are still negative at minus 1.8 points, which was accompanied by a slight slip in defense to 29 points. That puts them roughly level at minus 1.7 point combined margin. We saw LA head to a swelteringly hot Seattle to face the Seawolves. They were expected to win by 10, 26-16, and that ended up being pretty close, as they won by 15, 29-14. This match was never really in doubt, with LA scoring early and often to maintain a significant lead the whole way through. For the second week in a row, LA has broken the all-time record for defense, improving slightly to a 11.2 point defensive baseline. On attack, though, they continue to drop. They have a perfectly average attack now at 0 points. It's crazy to think that the attacking powerhouse that didn't score less than 40 points for the first 6 weeks of the competition is now just average. Defense wins championships, though, and LA have the best ever combined margin at 8.6 points. Seattle stayed fairly level. Their attack improved a bit to 0.8 points, because frankly scoring anything against this top-notch LA defense is a win. But they also got a bit worse on defense. They're now at 29.5 points, and that mostly offsets their gains. They're at a minus 1.5 point combined margin. Finally, we saw NOLA do what no other team has managed, beating New England in their home stadium of Union Point. They were expected to win by 2, 23-21, but instead we saw a defense-heavy match that had the Free Jacks take the only points in the first half with 3 penalty kicks, and then saw NOLA go on a 17-0 run in the second half to win it by 8, 17-9. NOLA's terrible attack stayed bad with this match, hanging at minus 5.2 points. However, their defensive baseline improved dramatically to 13.6, a shockingly good score. This puts them second best on defense. Overall, that helped them jump up to a combined margin of 6.2 points, third best in the league. The Free Jacks also saw an improvement to their defense, which is now at 21.6 points, but their attack sank to minus 3.6 points. That does improve their combined margin to 2 points overall, but that's still not too far from where they've been the whole time. In the rankings this week, LA and Atlanta held on to the top 2 spots, but third place was taken by NOLA, who switched spots with the now 4th place Rooney. Utah rocketed up 3 spots to 5th place, while Austin and New England stayed steady at 6th and 7th respectively. In 8th is San Diego, who took a 4-spot tumble. Seattle rose a spot to 9th, while Toronto and Old Glory both sank 1 spot to 10th and 11th respectively. Houston, as always, is last. We saw the playoff race tighten even further with 2 more official eliminations. San Diego and Old Glory are now mathematically out of the playoff. New England is still technically clinging to a glimmer of a chance, but realistically, we should consider them already eliminated. In the West, LA can lock up their top spot this week with a win. Behind them, Utah winning with a bonus point is really narrowing the opening for Austin. If Austin wins both of their remaining matches, Utah will still make it in if they can win once and get at least as many bonus points as Austin do. If Austin splits their remaining matches, Utah just needs to get as many bonus points as Austin to make the playoffs. Austin does have an easier slate, with both teams playing LA, but Austin getting to play Old Glory while Utah has to play Atlanta. Still, you'd at least back Utah to get bonus points. The numbers give Utah an 89% chance to make the playoffs, and Austin just 12%. They both have a bye week, though, so nothing is getting decided this week. In the East, Atlanta is riding high with a 96% chance to make it. They do have some tough matches coming up, though, so they could still end up seeded second in the East. Rooney's bonus point win helped them considerably. They now have a 75% chance. For NOLA, though, because they failed to secure a bonus point in their win, they now have a 29% chance to make it. NOLA's match against LA this week will be make or break for the gold. Speaking of which, let's get into the matches this week. NOLA will be heading to LA for a pivotal match. LA is expected to win by 2, 17-15, which is just a 57% chance to win. If the stats are anything to go by, this will be a slugfest. We'll see if NOLA has what it takes to do what their playoff rivals, Atlanta and New York, did before them. especially considering just how many of their players are currently in England with the Eagles. Another close match will be Rooney heading to New England. The pretentious East Coast Cities Cup is expected to go to New York by 23-21. That's a 56% chance for the Roosters to win. New England has been very successful at home, but we've seen a number of teams slump after being eliminated from playoff contention. Meanwhile, this will be Rooney's chance to pretty much secure their spot, so they will have a lot to play for. Next up, we see Seattle heading to San Diego for a rematch. San Diego, even after their dip, is expected to win it. However, it is once again predicted to be close, 27-25. That's just a 55% chance to win for the home team. This will be a fascinating match as both teams are playing just for pride at this point. I have a suspicion that the Seawolves might actually take this one, since they will be hungrier for a win given their 6-week drought. Finally, the closest prediction of this week is Old Glory at Toronto. Both teams have struggled in recent weeks, but the Arrows are expected to come away with it by 26-25. However, the model isn't taking into account just how much of the Toronto team is missing due to international call-ups. Frankly, I'll pass on making a prediction on this one. I feel like I don't have a good idea who either team is. Well, that's all for me this week. If you want to pick against my numbers, or if you want to check out the graphs and charts, head over to tacklethenumbers.gloriousrugby.com. If you have questions or comments for the show, you can reach me at tacklethenumbers@gloriousrugby.com. Till next time, folks.